Have you ever asked yourself, what should I be buying on pistol round? When should I force or save? What the heck is even a bonus round? Econ management is arguably one of the most important fundamental skills that you need to master if you want to rank up. I've seen even ascendant players not really understanding the reasoning behind why you force or save. If you understand the reasoning behind why you want to force buy after winning the pistol round, instead of blindly following it as a textbook statement, you'll have a much easier time actually learning how to manage your economy. Hey guys, it's Konpeki here, and I'm a rating coach who helps players get results like this inside the Immortal Roadmap program. If you're interested in getting coached, check out the link in the description and join my Discord server where we have free training resources and office hour sessions from Radiant coaches. Without further ado, let's get started. I said in the intro that econ management is one of the most important fundamental skills that you need to master if you want to rank up, and let me explain why. Valorant is a game that is very easy to snowball the lead once you've got some momentum. You only need 13 rounds to win the game. So you really want to secure as many rounds as possible by capitalizing on every advantage that you can create. That means you shouldn't just hold on to all your credits, which is an extremely common mistake I see. If you have better guns than your opponents, you're more likely to win the round. And the more rounds you win, the more credits you'll be earning compared to the enemy team. However, I'm not telling you to spend all your credits every round either, which is also what a lot of players do even in Immortal. If you keep buying and buying and buying, you're never going to be able to compete on even grounds against the enemy team who has a better buy. Now that you understand econ management is about allowing your team to create advantages against the enemy team with stronger weapons and more available abilities, let's start breaking it down with the pistol round. The first round of every half is the pistol round, and it's arguably the most important round in the game. If you manage to win the pistol round, you can snowball your lead very quickly. With good econ management, of course. Everyone starts with 800 credits, and here's what I recommend buying depending on your role. If you are playing a duelist, you have the most amount of flexibility with your pistol round buys. I usually buy a ghost or frenzy with a piece of utility. On Reyna, if I'm the only flash character, I might buy a flash, but double heals is extremely powerful on pistol round for her. If I know I'm going to be taking more long range fights, I'll buy a sheriff. Buying a light shield, a piece of utility, and keeping a classic can also work if you plan on fighting a lot of close range fights on the defender side. You can also buy a shorty, and this can be really strong on agents like Jett and Reyna, who can easily get out of close range one and done angles. Make sure to drop the shorty on the ground before the round starts, so you can still have the classic available in case you need to play retake on another side. Buying a shorty on the attacking side is also viable if you're playing agents like Raze or Jett, who can gap close on the attacking side. On controllers, I like to prioritize my utility. On Viper, I usually always buy a molly, an orb, and a light shield. On Brimstone, I like to buy a smoke, a molly, and a light shield. You can also go for some cheese plays on attack if you want to buy frenzy, stim beacon, and one smoke. You just won't have a molly for post plant. On the defender side, another cheese strat would be to play inside or close to your smokes with a shorty. On Omen, I like to buy a ghost and a flash on the defender side, since 2 smokes aren't always necessary. But on the attacking side, I'll just buy full utility since I need my blind and 2 smokes. Last but not least, actually he is kind of least, but if you really want to play Harbor, buy light armor and his cascade on attack side, and buy Cove on the defender side because it's good for sticking the defuse. For Initiators, I heavily prioritize my utility. On the attacking side, I'm a very big fan of buying full util and going classic with no armor on agents such as Skye, Breach, and Fade. This is because your utility is really hard to deal with on pistol round. Your dog and heal is super broken on Skye. Your 2 dogs are also super strong on Fade since they have so much health against pistols, and 2 flashes and an aftershock will clear the entire sites for Breach. So it was the only exception where if my team wants to just go fast, I'll buy a ghost and 2 shock darts since I still have my dart. But if I'm playing maps like Breeze or Icebox, I'll still buy a drone because I'll be able to get a tag off before they break the drone, and my team can easily get a pick off of it. On the defender side, I usually buy 1 piece of utility that can help my team the most during a retake, and you can still afford to buy a ghost or frenzy. For Sentinels, it's pretty straightforward. I always buy a trip to allow my team to have more map control. On Sage, I always buy a wall because they're really good once the bomb goes down. For Cypher, I pretty much always buy a ghost, trip, and a cage so I can spam through smokes. On KJ, I pretty much always buy a molly, alarm bot, and light armor. On Chamber, I always buy a trip and 4 bullets, but you really need to make sure those bullets count, so a safer buy is to buy a trip and a ghost instead. Now, let's talk about what to buy if we win or lose the pistol round. And there's definitely a lot more to it than just buying full armor and a Spectre if you win and saving if you lose. There are more nuanced aspects to pay attention to because every kill gives 200 credits and every bomb plant is an extra 300 credits for each attacking side player. And actually, those aren't the only numbers you need to know. I hate memorizing stuff like lineups. I'm sorry, Average Jonas, but this is super important. It's like knowing how many minions it takes to hit level 2 and getting the biggest power spike in League of Legends. Every round that you win in Valorant rewards each team member with 3,000 credits. However, each team member only gets 1,900 on the first losing round. On the second loss in a row, each teammate gets 2,400 credits. And this number caps out at 2,900 credits after the third loss in a row. This means that if you continue to lose after the third loss in a row, you'll still only continue to get 2,900 credits. With all that being said, if you win the pistol round, you will have a minimum of 3,000 credits. And if you lose the pistol round, you'll have a minimum of 1,900 credits. This means that you always want to full buy if you win the pistol round because you have an econ advantage. The only reason you would save is if you're keeping a teammate's pistol because you're trying to save for a third round operator. It's really important to note that it's a full buy, not a force, because a force buy is when your team is forced to use all of their credits against a stronger buy. If 3,000 credits are all you have to work with because you spent all your credits on pistol round, you didn't get the spike down, and you didn't get any kills, buying a Spectre, full shield, and some utility is the safest choice to go with. If you're on the defender side and the attackers didn't get bonus money from planting the bomb, buying a Marshal is also extremely strong, since most enemies will be one shot to the body, and you can no-scope pretty accurately with that weapon. If you're playing on a smaller map, buying a Judge instead of the Spectre can be great as well, because it can be really strong against rifles in the bonus round. If you have more than 3,000 credits though, because you got some kills or the bomb down, I highly recommend buying a Bulldog, full shield, and some utility with the remaining credits. However, if you're a support agent, make sure to still prioritize your utility to actually help your team, such as buying drones and smokes. You don't want to run in with rifles and die to shorties and stingers because you didn't use util to clear angles. Now back to talking about the Bulldog. The reason why I like it so much is because it only takes 3 body shots to kill enemies with no armor, and it's super easy to use by using the ADS 3-round burst. Aiming down sight with the Bulldog is very strong even against full armor and rifle buys, because the burst shoots really fast and it only takes 1 shot to the head and body at any range for a kill. You're essentially using an unsuppressed Phantom. If you have above 3,400 credits and you're playing really long range maps like Icebox or Breeze, you can buy the Bulldog, full armor, and support utility. Or if you know you don't have to buy that much utility, you can even buy a Guardian and full shield, because a Guardian only needs 2 shots to the body for a kill even against light shields. If the enemy team lost a pistol round but decides to force, it's very common for them to go light shield plus Spectre. However, if they buy a full shield, their only options are having a Sheriff, Stinger, Bucky, or maybe a Marshal, but good for you, you can outrange all those guns, with the only exception being getting domed by a Marshal. If enemies try to light buy some guns on the second round without buying armor, such as buying a Sheriff, Bucky, Stinger, or Marshal, which is surprisingly very common in ranked, but they still want to buy a Vandal or Phantom on the third round, they still have to buy a light shield. This means that you'll be able to 2-shot people in the body against those full buys. Lastly, if you get like a 4K and the spike down, you'll end up with something like 4,100 credits. With this amount, you can buy full shield, Vandal or Phantom, and a piece of utility, but I generally don't recommend buying a rifle the second round, especially with just light shields. This is because if you die with the rifle and the enemy team picks it up, the tables can turn very quickly against your team. The only time I'd ever buy a Vandal and light armor is if I'm playing Reyna so I can continue healing, or if I'm playing Jet or Chamber and my ult is going to be up by round 3. Even then, if I get one tap by a Sheriff or Marshal from long range, I'm going to make sure I have a teammate nearby who can pick up the gun before the enemies can. Now, if you paid attention to everything I just shared, you should easily understand that if enemies properly buy up after winning the pistol round, the odds are very stacked against you to win the second round, even if you force up. The only time I would even consider forcing is if I'm playing on the attacking side and we got the bomb down on pistol round, or my team is down really bad, like 2-11 after losing the pistol round, and you just really need to win a round, or else it's going to be really hard to win 10 rounds in a row, being down from 2-11 all the way to 12-12 and winning it in overtime. If I'm playing a duelist and my teammates don't really need my utility, I like to light buy a sheriff or marshal without armor so I can do as much econ damage as possible. And it's not the end of the world if I die, because I should still have enough credits next round to be able to buy a full shield and a bulldog or guardian, or possibly go light shield and vandal or phantom. However, if the whole team does this, including your supports, your team is shooting themselves in the foot for the third round, which is often referred to as the bonus round. I want you to actively recall the time I was talking about all those numbers. Ugh, not this again, right? But trust me, there's a reason why I said it's important. Remember how I mentioned that the losing streak credits cap out at 2,900? However, a very important fact that a lot of players overlook is that the losing streak bonus resets after a win. So if you finally win a round, but lose a round right after that, you're back to getting only 1,900 credits. And this is why the bonus round exists. If your team, number 1, won the pistol round, number 2, bought properly to have better guns and more utility, and number 3, won the round with most players still alive, your team can take the weapons we used in the second round into the next round against the enemy's full buy. That's what a bonus round is. And I can already hear the people saying,
"But doesn't that mean we'll have weaker guns and lose a third round?"
No! Well, let me show you the bigger picture. If we use up all the credits on the second round to buy up, but we win the second round, we'll get another 3,000 credits plus bonuses from kills and bomb plants. This means that even if we lose the bonus round, we'll still have the 3,000 credits plus an additional 1,900 credits if we didn't have to replenish too much of our shields or buy a lot of utility. On top of that, if you're able to kill a few of the opponents, your team will have a massive econ advantage going into the fourth round. This is because your team will be able to full buy, but because the enemy team full bought the third round, the max they're most likely to have in their bank account is around 3,300 credits. With that kind of money, there's no way they can replenish their shields, buy utility again, and drop for the teammate that just died. So going into the fourth round, your team who bonused has a much higher chance of winning the round. And remember what I said about the losing streak bonus getting reset? That's right. If the enemy team loses the fourth round after scraping all their pennies together, they're going to be absolutely broke on the fifth round. And here's a cherry on top. If you manage to win the bonus round, that's when the snowball really gets out of control. Enemies will have to full save the fourth round, while your team has a full buy with 5 to 6k credits still sitting in the bank. If this happens to your own team though, oof, don't just give up yet. At least you're still getting the 2,900 credits from the fourth loss, so you can light by the next round to see if you can still win a thrifty, but you want to save for the fifth round and try to crawl your way back. There's always hope, my friends, don't FF. I know it's the fifth round. All the rounds after that, make sure to properly coordinate and manage your econ with your teammates to be able to buy together and cover each other. Something that I do every single round during the buy phase is looking at the minimum credits next round. This is so that if my team is saving, I can make sure to have at least 4,500 credits available if I'm playing a support character, and this way I can full buy into the next round. If the minimum next round is above that and my team needs to save, I just buy weaker guns like a sheriff or a marshal to look for eco kills and try to hurt the enemy econ as much as possible. That way, they can't just become Jeff Bezos and be able to buy every single round for the rest of the game.
Last but not least, I want to go over when you should either save your gun or die before the round ends. If you survive in a round that you lost, you'll still get to keep all your weapons and armor, but the game will count it as a save and you'll only get 1,000 credits. Despite this penalty, there are a couple of scenarios when saving your weapon is a good idea. Number 1, saving can allow your whole team to still have a full buy even after losing a round. Number 2, saving can sometimes take away guns that you don't want to deal with from your enemies. And number 3, saving can also incite the enemy team to chase after you, leading to some exit kills and free econ damage. From my personal experience, you only want to save guns that are worth 2,900 credits or more, and if I'm going to save a guardian or bulldog, I'd rather try to do some econ damage to the enemies. If you have guns that are not worth saving, you should try to find a way to die before the round ends. For example, let's say you're playing on the defender side. You only have a classic while the enemies have rifles. Time is already running out for you to defuse the bomb, and it doesn't look like you'll be able to do any econ damage to the enemy team. The worst possible scenario would be saving your classic and only getting 1000 credits. That's why if you know you already secured the round but the enemy has a weak gun, you should try to keep them alive instead of killing them. Another scenario you want to avoid is giving an easy kill to the enemy team, which gives them extra credits and ult points. An ideal scenario here would be to die to the spike explosion, so you still get the lost streak bonus. If you want to be sneaky, you can start defusing the spike at the last second to force attackers back towards the bomb site and catching them up in the explosion. Alright, that should cover everything about the Valorant economy when it comes to credits, and if you found this video helpful, please like the video and share it with your friends. Also, make sure to check out the description for coaching if you're interested, and there's free resources inside my Discord server, so make sure to check that out as well. As always, thanks for watching.